to veteran match. Your skills are based on what's needed for success in that job. You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets on Media Network.
All right, you're on The Arms Room with Glenn. That's 2 weeks in a row.
I know, right?
I'm very excited.
I may not make it next week. I'm not sure yet.
Breaking hearts, man.
Yeah, well, it happens.
So next week we're going to have an all-new schedule.
Yay.
Today is the last show on our current schedule. So next week will be the start of our new 3-month schedule. And we've got some really cool stuff coming up next 3 months, because we do 3 months at a time.
Nice.
So we're going to be putting up the schedule this week on our Facebook page. We got some cool new guests. We have some cool topics. We're going to be looking at some new gear. Good stuff. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up for the next 3 months.
Maybe I won't miss a third of the next 3 months.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be fantastic.
Adam, how you doing over there in the corner?
Doing great, thank you. Hi.
Any exciting things happening in Adam's life? I like your hat, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm supporting the new Red Wire hat. Thank you, John.
Right on.
Very nice. Anything exciting going on in my life?
Yeah. What's going on?
Every day is a new adventure, man.
Sounds like a Navy recruiting commercial.
Nothing.
Every day is a new adventure.
No, nothing.
Right.
I mean, nothing exciting. Just doing my thing. Same old.
All right.
It's been a little. I am a football dad now.
Oh, okay. Football dad.
Yep. So the month of September is literally gonna suck. It 3 games a week. I don't know what school. Yeah, 3 Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, all games, every week for the entire month of September.
I'm tired just thinking about that.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
He's a 6th grader.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My kids just started the communist sport of soccer.
Oh.
So my
How
kids.
do you feel about that?
Soccer's an okay sport if you're a communist. So yeah,
And our listener rate just dropped.
there goes another 500 listeners.
Well, it's a universal sport, man. Like having been to third world countries, you can go anywhere in the world and play soccer. You need a ball and some dirt.
I agree.
That's it.
I agree with that. And if you're in a lot of certain areas, it's more popular.
Look,
no
hands.
So, anyways, my kids love soccer. My oldest son has played for many years, and now my oldest daughter has joined the ranks of soccer. So now I have 2 soccer kids, which means 2 practices and for all you not yet parents out there, just wait, because now we have gymnastics and soccer and all these other extracurricular educational activities. Not only are they time consuming, they're also not free.
No.
What?
Right.
It gets a little bit pricey.
It gets pricey, and the older they get, the more expensive it gets. So yeah, just wait. It's exciting. When you're single, buy guns. Lots of guns when you're single.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Buy lots of guns, single, fast cars, motorcycles.
Do everything that you want to accomplish in life while you're single, because once you have kids, your dreams are over.
or not even single, just before children. Do it all before children.
There you go. Before kids.
Or even before you're married.
Yeah.
Buy lots of fun stuff. Like
you
Adam. Adam's single.
Yeah.
Where's your motorcycle, Adam?
It's in my garage.
See, Adam has a motorcycle.
He does.
See what I mean?
Which
That's
I'm actually trying
about.
to sell. So if anybody's looking for a motorcycle, because I want to.
I didn't realize football
Adam's
gear
also
was that
single.
expensive.
Yeah.
This is like Adam's personal ads.
Yeah.
Adam's single, has a motorcycle.
Single.
he'd
Now
like to
accepting
sell.
applications, ladies.
Wow. All right.
All right.
In other news, interesting thing happened over the weekend. Well, I shouldn't say over the weekend, but I saw the article over the weekend. An Army doctor who works for some big organization that promotes training and all that is now supporting the idea of the use of tourniquets for civilian first responders, and actually really, really heavily promoting it. We've had what are they called? The National Tactical Officers Association, NTOA. So the NTOA recently, when it came out and said all law enforcement officers need to get, basically combat lifesaver certified in one way, shape, or form. And now we have, an Army doctor. He was actually one of the doctors who was kind of celebrated and recognized for helping at the Boston Marathon bombing because he had just completed the marathon 30 minutes prior and was kind of standing around waiting. Boom, bomb goes off, and he rushes in and starts using tourniquets and things like that. And, he talks about how improvised tourniquets suck, like we teach in our classes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how pre-made tourniquets are really the way to go. So it's interesting. As time goes on, and I remember we first started teaching, CLS or TCCC kind of stuff back in 2010. People thought we were crazy.
Yep.
They thought we were crazy for teaching battlefield medicine to the average person. Now, it's one of our fastest growing, most popular programs. And so if you haven't sought out this kind of training, I highly recommend, if you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, I highly recommend you go out and seek this kind of training. If you're here locally or anywhere near Arizona, come and check out Independence Training's class, the IFAC Lifesaver program, which covers all the stuff we just talked about. Our next one is September 20th. In Phoenix, so you can check it out there. Also, on that same note, because I found that article interesting, I wanted to mention on the air that September the 7th in Phoenix, Arizona, we're also going to be doing a free demonstration day at Shooters World from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., so for 3 hours. We're going to be giving away some free gear. We're going to be giving away discounts on classes, all kinds of cool stuff. And it's going to be a demonstration of trauma-type medical kits as well as the training and the use of tourniquets and use of bandages and use of hemostatic agents and things like that. So if you're in the Phoenix area on September 7th, you got to come check that out at Shooters World, 2 to 5 p.m. And that is on the Arms Room Facebook page. So anything else, John, that we missed? Any exciting new things? The world is a wonderful place.
It is, always.
It is as it ought to be, I think. All right. So today we have Russell Phagan from Route 66 Tactical, who's going to be talking to us about competitive shooting, why you should get involved, and all that good stuff. I'm looking at John.
Why do you keep looking at me?
Because you're a puss and you won't come and freaking shoot competition with me.
You have invited me to IDARM for 2 years. 1 year, I couldn't make it because of other commitments. This year, I didn't make it because my stupid self forgot to pay my registration fees on time.
I'm sorry, I just blacked out. Were you making excuses again?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I heard, right? All right. So, Russell, how you doing?
Good. Glad to be here.
Good. We're really glad to have you in here, man. Before we get started, when we get as we get going here, if you have questions about competitive shooting, you can call us 602-399-7787, and you can also always post up questions for Russell or John or I or Adam in his weird personal life on the Arms Room Facebook page and on the We're Live segment, and we will certainly answer your questions as well as we can. So, Russell, tell us a little bit about, I kind of want to get right into the nitty-gritty of competitive shooting. And the reason that we wanted you to come in, of course, we've known each other for a while. And when it comes to competitive shooting, I think anyone who kind of does their research or their due diligence on you from the Sinistral Rifleman blog, or as we call it, the Left-Handed Gila Monster blog, because Russell's a lefty like John over here, wrong-handed. And if anyone who does their due diligence will see that you're a very accomplished competitive shooter. You shoot in a lot of the action matches. You shoot in a lot of the multi-gun matches and things, and you do them a lot all over the country. Even you've been a lot of different places, so you certainly have the experience and the knowledge, and you win them too. It's not like you're just going and shooting these things. You're actually winning. Like there's a lot of competitive shooters who say, "Oh yeah, I go and shoot all this competition," but they don't necessarily win anything. You know how to play the game right?
Yeah, how well I do just depends on who else shows up for the particular event. There are a lot more good shooters involved now than there were, say, even 4 years ago. I got into competitive shooting back in 2001 because I worked in the firearms industry, and my employer at the time told me, if you want to get some experience, you weren't in the military, you weren't in law enforcement, you want some credibility and understand how this stuff works, competitive shooting is a way to do it. And you can learn how this stuff works and more intelligently talk to customers and up your personal skill set. So I really took that to heart, and I got involved and pretty actively competed for the past 12, 13 years now. And there's a lot of things I've learned over the years from competing. And, there's always something new to learn with regards to equipment or skills. And if you think you're getting to the top of the pack, there's always going to be someone else to put your ego in check.
That's for sure. So I've referred personally to competitions in a couple of different ways, and one of the ways I refer to it, and I don't know, did you see my 40-round PMAG I had at the IDARM competition that had the picture of the golf club on it?
Yeah, I do believe I remember seeing that. Because
I refer to competition shooting as bullet golf, right? It's a way to go out and kind of, for some people it's just to relax. For some people, their guns in competition are no more than like a set of golf clubs. Like I have a set of golf clubs. I don't use them that much. The only time I use my set of golf clubs is, when I'm out golfing. That's it. Occasionally, you may pull out a golf club to beat someone over the head with or something, but for the most part, your golf clubs are going to be used only for that one sport. And there's a lot of competitors I know that only use their guns for that one sport. They trick their guns out specifically to be competitive based. They do all kinds of crazy modifications to them so that they're used for winning at competitions, just like a golfer would do for his clubs. But when they leave the competition, they put their clubs back in the case, so to speak, and that's it. They're not necessarily recreational outside of that. They don't necessarily carry defensively or consider firearms defensive based or anything like that. And then there's kind of a whole other side of competitive shooting. And that's kind of the side of competitive shooting that I think that you're certainly more well versed on, and the kind of the side that you really compete more in. So kind of tell me more about that side of it and how you see competition shooting.
Well, you bring up a good point that different people go to matches for different reasons. And someone going to a match to do bullet golf, as you said, doesn't detract from me being there for my own purposes. Mm-hmm. The reason I want to be there is to proof out equipment and improve my skill set and have a peer group to gauge my skill set against. And, while we sometimes use equipment in competition that may not be entirely practical for everyday carrier use, that's how the cycle of research and development continues, is things get developed through competition, they get, improved, made more durable, and later applied to martial applications. And that's one of the things I've really appreciated over the past, 13 years being involved in it, is we've seen a lot of stuff come out of competition shooting and end up in military and law enforcement use, and in the realm of the concealed carrier or home defense use, that without that rapid cycle of feedback from competitive shooting, I don't think it would have gotten there as quickly. So the other thing to consider is, people go there for martial applications as well. A competent martial shooter should still be able to place reasonably well at a match without, getting into, the nth degree of gamesmanship, whether it be with equipment or how they shoot the stage. If you view each stage as a drill rather than a scenario, and that's the fallacy a lot of people have, is they view a stage as a scenario because it has humanoid targets and there's walls simulating a hallway and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. They start to think about it from what would I do if this was really my house, or what would I do if I was really clearing a building? And you can't view it as really representing that, because it isn't realistic. Because if you were clearing a building, you'd have teammates with you. You don't have that at a match. If it was in your home, well, I wouldn't leave the bedroom. I'd call the police and take a defensive position in the bedroom.
Right.
So what you got to view it as is just simply a drill, gauging how quickly can I shoot accurately under these conditions in these circumstances.
Now, one of the things that I've always kind of said about competitive shooting, when I first got involved in competitive shooting and I was shooting like IDPA and traditional 3-gun matches, I looked at a lot of that and I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not going to retain my magazines in the real world, and I almost, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to stand in a box and engage the same, or 5 different targets standing in one spot. That's not going to work. I remember shooting a match one time where you kicked open a door and then stood in the doorway and engaged targets, which is like the fatal funnel. Like, this is the worst
extremely
place
intelligent
that you can possibly be, right? And so I remember shooting this competition and being like, this is terrible. And so for a while, I kind of had a bad taste in my mouth, so to speak, for some competitive shooting, because I felt, oh, well, this is like building bad habits. And I heard that complaint. That kind of complaint was kind of reinforced by people that I shot with and trained with, of like, oh, well, yeah, you're right. That's just a silly game and you're building bad habits. But the more I got into different types of matches, like the action rifle matches, the axe match, which is now 2GACME down in Tucson, different matches like that were more of that style, all of a sudden I saw a very, very different style and different purpose to training. as you said, now all of a sudden I was testing gear better. I was comparing myself to other people better. I was able to kind of put my equipment to the test. I was able to put my skills to the test a little bit different. So what do you think about that particular argument about it's just a game? You shouldn't take it seriously.
I think it largely depends on what the stages are, because action shooting can't be shoehorned into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all defined by what are the goals of the match director running the match, what are the goals of the people running the match, and how do they design the stages to accomplish those goals. There's often a fallacy of having hard and fast rules to make a match more tactical or restricting to particular equipment. And I'll tell you, stage design defines the practical application of a match or not. And we can design stages that make particular equipment a liability, that simulate more real-world conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we're down in the dirt and your comp blows up a bunch of dirt, obscuring your sight picture, and conversely, it would make you more visible to someone from downrange. That's a little more practical. Not putting carpets on the ground in shooting areas, operating out of confined quarters in vehicles and that sort of thing. Adding physical challenges to simulate the stress of being involved in a shooting. I think when you design stages with those goals in mind, it's much easier to come up with something more practical than, say, a shooting gallery course. And I like shooting gallery courses. They're fun. It's like a carnival game. You just like shooting the star out at the carnival or knocking over the ducks or whatever it is. Some shooting courses and matches are like that. You just have to know what the match is going into it and have reasonable expectations out of it.
So do you think, and I just posted up what I was typing on my computer there, I just posted up your competition shooting for the Marshall Gunman on our Arms Room Facebook page. So if you're listening to this, go check out the Facebook page, and you'll find that article that Russell wrote about why everybody should basically get involved in competitive shooting. So you can hear more or read more about what Russell's talking about. What are your thoughts from a competitive standpoint on, even when you're doing shooting gallery type stages, which we certainly, both you and I have participated in, we're just standing there shooting stuff as fast as possible. Even then, do you think that for the defensive person, the CCW holder, the home defense concern, whatever, the people who aren't necessarily worried about the bullet golf side of things, but who just want an opportunity to improve their skills, what are the benefits of those kind of shooting gallery type matches where I'm not necessarily applying quote unquote defensive skills, but where I'm still using my equipment? What do you think the advantages are?
Well, I'd say it's more dynamic than the typical tactical carbine or tactical pistol class where you got a dozen people standing on the line shooting at one target over and over again. Mm-hmm. Because you have multiple targets you're engaging, you're actually being timed, there are different distances and different sizes. Mm-hmm. And particularly with handgun, we see that if people are lacking in the fundamentals, the basics of marksmanship, they can really fall apart in a shooting gallery stage because the targets are simply smaller than what they're used to shooting, or they're at different distances. Mm-hmm. Understanding the timing aspects of shooting different moving target systems, and like a Texas Star or double spinner can be more of a carnival game type target, but it's also testing your timing and ability to hit a moving target. And all of those plates are roughly the same size as a human head.
Well, and when you're looking at those kinds of targets, like I know certainly, I'm going to use the last match I shot in, which was the Independence Day action rifle match. I don't shoot a lot of competition. That's one of the ones I try to make every single year, and then I try to do other things throughout the year, but I enjoy that match. I enjoy it for a couple of reasons. One, I like the camaraderie. We have our own squad that we make, and it's mostly friends and fellow instructors and shooters and everything, so we have a good time with it. But the other thing is that it's rifle-based only, and it really pushes people's rifles because you have to make, at one point you're kicking in a door, moving through the door, and trying to shoot those stupid flip-up target.
Oh, the max trap.
Oh, my gosh, that was a half a second?
Yeah, you have maybe a half a second
tap
exposure on those.
Just an incredibly quick shot that you have to make. And then, you engage some other targets that are all real close. Inside of 3 to 5. Then you run up on a platform, and suddenly you're engaging targets from what I think they started at 100 and moved out to 3 or something like that, 300. And so the reason I enjoy these kind of matches is, as you said, they're well outside what someone's going to typically do in a training class. They're well outside what someone's going to typically do at the range, where they're going to unload their guns and go to the little bench, and they're going to shoot, and they're going to do what they're good at, right? And people at ranges frickin' never do anything they're not good at. They only do what they're good at because there's lots of people watching, and they want to impress everybody. And then they pack up their stuff and they go home, and they never really get any better. But here, as you said, even when you're looking at, okay, you look at these stages, holy crap, I hope I never have to engage 14 real targets in the real world within a 180-second time period. I mean, that's just ridiculously insane with mixed in non-shoots and having to move in and out of vehicles and all. I mean, that's crazy stuff. But what it does is it pushes me because there's competitive there. I'm trying to win. There's a sense of everybody's watching me, and there's a sense of time. You're being timed. You do have a limited round count because I know people who run out of ammunition on those kind of stages. They start shooting that long range stuff and it really screws them up. They don't know their holdovers, or they don't know where their reticle is or whatever. So I think that there's a huge advantage of the average shooter going to these kinds of things, whether it's a shooting gallery type match, or whether it's an action match or a 3-gun match or whatever, where it's going to push them well outside of their comfort. John?
Having never actually shot a competition, I did a little friendly competition with some friends up in Pine Top one time. But
well, you've done some stuff with us too.
And I've done a few things with you guys, but in my mind, it basically teaches problem solving, and that's what carrying a gun on a daily basis is all about. It's about solving those problems that you're going to run into. Okay, can I make this shot? Should I make this shot? How quickly can I make this shot? Things like that. So from a relatively inexperienced competition style of shooter, which is me, looking in on it, it looks like it teaches good problem solving.
No, and that's exactly what it is problem solving with a gun in your hand. How can I move with this firearm safely within these confines and solve whatever shooting problem I'm facing? And Glenn, you made a comment about people running out of ammo in long range stages. Knowing when to call it quits and just stop.
Yep.
Is a valuable skill to have as well, because if I can keep engaging this thing, I'm running out of ammo. And
but you see it happen.
Yeah, we see it happen consistently because they don't consider, okay, I'm racking up, time with each shot, and then
you can literally take the penalty and get a better score than continue to shoot and miss.
Right. I mean, that's potentially real world applicable as well, because if I'm not making the hit, maybe I should just get out of here.
Well, and there was what was that max speed trap? What you call it?
Max trap. Yeah.
Max trap. I hated that thing. It was terrible. So what I did to handle that is I didn't even try to engage it when I came through the door. I kicked in the door, I let it flip up, and then I just headshot the bad guy. Instead of trying to get your quick body shots on the bad guy with this hostage target that's quickly, I shouldn't say slowly, quickly flipping up to cover the bad guy target, I just waited for it to flip up. I engaged other targets, then came back to that target and engaged the head. And so it is problem solving. And I don't know, I think I was like second or maybe third in that stage because I chose that option. And there were shooters who were faster than me, much faster than me, as far as their ability to work the trigger and everything, who accidentally hit the hostage because they were trying to, they're trying to get those quick shots in and hit the hostage instead. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Russell's going to talk to us more about the different types of competitions and how to get started. If you're sitting at home going, well, gosh, this all sounds awesome, but do I need to buy some special gear or something? So we're going to talk about what you need to get involved and the different types of competitions. We're going to take a break. You're listening to The Arms Room.
Would you like to share your military knowledge and experience with other service members and help them achieve their goals? Hey everybody, it's James from Vets On. You can do just that by becoming a military student enrollment advisor with the University of Phoenix at their Phoenix, Arizona campus. Military student enrollment advisors work with prospective students who have chosen to serve their country just like you. You'll be helping them enroll, choose a degree program, and guide them through their first class. To qualify for this great opportunity, you need a valid DD-214, military ID card from the National Guard or Reserves, a bachelor's degree, or 60 college credits. Military spouses are also eligible with current DoD ID card and a bachelor's degree. If you're looking for a great career while helping fellow military members, then we urge you to contact the University of Phoenix today. Apply now by going to jobs-apollo.com and enter the word Military Enrollment Advisor in the search bar. And don't forget to tell them that Vets On sent you. Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Breaker, 1-9. How about that bandit? You got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Do you need an extra push to start your day? Well, then tune in to Addie's Radio. Addie's Radio is a show that explores tough questions in an open and fun forum. The program also engages hard-hitting issues concerning veterans' physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. This show airs every Tuesday from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Vets On Media Network. Addie's Radio is hosted by Jesse James, a combat veteran of Afghanistan, so he knows the problems that veterans face every day. Jesse provides you guidance each and every week to be a better you. So tune into yourself each week by tuning into Addie's Radio. Go to vetsonmedia.com for show details.
You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets On Media Network.
All right, you're back on The Arms Room. We have Russell Phagan in our studio on the show talking about competitive shooting. We just got done talking about kind of why you should get involved. Now we want to talk about how you can get involved and the different types of competition, because whether you like to sit at a bench and shoot 22s at tiny little silhouette animals, or you like to get all kitted out and run through the desert and engage targets, you know, hot and heavy and fast and lots of volume of fire, there's a competition for you. You know, there's whatever you like to do. If you like to, you know, stand in a box and shoot your pistol, if you like old cowboy action guns, if you like frickin' riding around on horses and shooting stuff, man, there's a competition for you. There's just all kinds of shooting competitions. So first thing I want to do is we've got some questions on the Facebook page, and so we're going to talk about those pretty much right now. One of them is, how does someone with a decent firearms background get into competitive shooting? What kind of setup is recommended gear-wise to make the most out of it? And is it common for people to use plate carriers in real-world setups, or is usually catered towards speed? I think we're pretty much about to answer all those questions, what we're going to talk about. So,
Right.
So Russell, kind of take it away on, let's talk first about the different types of competitions.
Well, pistol competitions in the action shooting world are the most common. You have two basic flavors that you have: USPSA and IDPA. And IDPA started as a response to USPSA, as being a more tactical, real-world oriented form of pistol competition.
And let's break those down real quick. USPSA, United States
Practical Shooting Association.
IDPA is
the International Defensive Pistol.
Pistol. Okay, that's right.
So USPSA is the American division of the IPSC, International Practical Shooting Confederation, and IDPA was formed as a kind of response to that. The truth is, they're both games with different rules.
I agree.
IDPA is just more restrictive on equipment, and ironically, if you're looking for a venue to use your defensive pistol equipment, USPSA offers more options for you as far as actually being able to use it, because IDPA, for example, doesn't generally allow weapon lights. You can't load your magazines to full capacity. Sometimes, depending on the type of holster you have, it isn't even allowed. For example, appendix carry isn't allowed in IDPA, where if you're shooting in USPSA open division, you could use it. So USPSA at least gives you the option to, use it in some division, even though you may be less competitive against a full-blown open race gun. And USPSA, I think, gives you more options for if you want to make the most of the match relative to your own purposes. If you want to run through and do tactical reloads with attention, cool, they let you. They don't care what sequence you shoot targets in, etc. Where IDPA is much more specific about target engagement sequences.
And you have to shoot in sequence. That was one thing that bothered the hell out of me when I used to shoot IDPA matches, was like, I don't want to shoot it in your sequence. I want to shoot it how I want to shoot it.
So let's say you want to get into a pistol match to have a venue to practice with your carry gear. Even if IDPA is the only local event, you could talk to the match director and say, hey, I just want to come out here for practice. Your match fee's $10 to $20. I just want to get some trigger time in. Don't score me. And most times they're cool with that. They understand people want to make the most of the venue relative to their own purposes. Other matches they run are simple steel matches. In Metro Phoenix here, we have 2 big steel matches weekly. Tuesday night steel at Rio Salado gets over 150 shooters a lot of the time, and they cycle that many people through in about 4 hours.
And that's shooting gallery type shooting.
Yeah, and they have movement from boxes to boxes and around barricades and stuff, but it's a very simple match that is good for the novice to get into because there's not a lot going into it. And they have a safety briefing that new shooters can attend. It's actually mandatory for them to attend it if they haven't shot other matches before. That gets them up to speed on match safety rules, and then they usually pair them with a more experienced shooter to get into it.
And they also have rimfire versions of those matches typically, right?
They do, and we're fortunate here in Metro Phoenix that there is literally a match like every day of the week. Other parts of the country, it may be a weekly or a monthly event. If your range isn't hosting a match, talk to them about getting one running. It is a volunteer-based sport. As a match director, the match is less fun because it's more work for you, but at least you have a venue to participate in. So if I was going to tell someone that's looking to get into competition, I would check out your local pistol match first, because understanding the fundamentals of match etiquette, match safety, and procedures and how things are scored, that's the best place to start with a lot less complicated venue. If you're interested in shooting multi-gun, 3-gun is not necessarily an organization-based event. There are different derivatives of 3-gun throughout the country. There are 2-gun matches as well. We've had one running here in Arizona for the past 7 years that was originally run under AXE, and now it's the 2-gun action challenge match. AXE still runs in Michigan. There's some other 2-gun oriented events in Florida, and other local clubs have these events, but a lot of the clubs don't necessarily have good internet presence to make it known. And the more forward-thinking progressive clubs have a good internet presence and are advertising their matches as if it was a product that, hey, we want to get you out here and participating in it. So that'd be my advice. Start simple at a more basic match rather than going into a match that's more challenging to begin with. And that's an interesting dynamic we see with the 2-gun match in Tucson, because it's simpler in the sense than 3-gun that it's only rifle and pistol, but it's much more technically challenging than, say, the 3-gun match at Rio Salado because of the awkward shooting positions, support side shooting, very technical pistol shooting a lot of the time. But because it's advertised as a tactical match, we get people going to that would be better served by going to a more basic pistol match first and getting those skills down there, or at least taking some classes first before going to that match, because there's so much going on there that I see them struggle month after month after month with the same basic things. And that's honestly why I got into teaching competition-oriented classes, because if there's a few things you need to work on, you can identify them on your own. But if you are so overwhelmed with everything going on at a match, it's very hard to identify what I need to work on to get better, to be a better shooter at this particular venue, whether it's working around props or engaging particular target systems, that sort of thing. And you take a classroom, you have the benefit of doing this stuff for 13 years and encountering a lot of different target systems, a lot of different props, and there's different tricks for dealing with all those things. If you haven't encountered it before, figuring it out on the clock after the buzzer's gone off is not very efficient, to put it mildly.
So to get started, let's kind of break it down as a checklist thing. 1, find out locally where you can go.
Right.
Contact your local ranges, because it might not be highly advertised. Look for shooting clubs, talk to them. Even if it's something like I would recommend to people, and tell me if you agree with this or not, even if it's a match that you don't necessarily want to shoot in. Like, let's say I live in Bumsville, United States, whatever, and the only thing they have is some cowboy action shooting. And maybe that's not my thing. I don't really want to get involved in cowboy action shooting, but that's the only thing available in my very, very local area without traveling far. I should probably still go check it out. At least go and observe and see how a match is run. Would you agree with that?
I'd agree, because there's certain universal safety and etiquette procedures that apply across the board regardless of the match. Cowboy has their own specific procedures relative to the more antiquated guns they're using, but pretty much every action match has the same basic safety rules about don't break the 180 with your muzzle, don't drop your gun, don't put a round over the berm, Don't show up with a loaded gun. That's one thing we commonly see with people that come from a tactical background. They go to shoot a match, and they may show up and do something that could get them DQ'd immediately simply because they're not familiar with the rules. You don't show up to the line when the RO says load and make ready, and you're like, well, I'm already loaded up and hot. If you show up with your carry gun, you need to go to a safety area and clear it first, or in my case, I usually just bring 2 different guns. My match gun's a duplicate copy of my carry gun, so I don't need to worry about unloading my carry gun. I just leave it in the vehicle and take my match gun with me. So understanding the safety rules is definitely key. Understanding that the 180, because a lot of guys like to go muzzle down and turn around and go back up range.
Right, depressed muzzle kind of concept.
Yeah, or go muzzle up, and well, it's not inherently breaking into the basic firearm safety rules. It's breaking match safety rules. And understand these match safety rules are set up to accommodate for people who have no level of training. And they're basically extensions of the basic firearm safety rules. The 180 rule. It's essentially don't point the muzzle at anything you're not willing to destroy. You're just making it more idiot-proof so the range officer can control the shooter's muzzle if need be. If he turns around, the RO can physically stop him if necessary. And we've seen that happen a couple times with people who simply weren't aware of the safety rules.
Who were otherwise safe, competent shooters. They just didn't know that match rule.
Correct. I was actually guilty of that. The one match that I shot.
Guilty.
I was. The guy that took me was like, hey, man, he's like, we don't do that here. And I'm like, oh, all right, thanks.
And so, 1, seek out what's in your area. 2, go and observe a match. Maybe go down and tell them, like, hey, I'm here to just watch and see what's going on. I mean, I've found that the competitive shooting world, while everything has a certain level of jerks in it, is usually a pretty friendly world as far as people who want to get other people involved. Especially if you're a lady listening to this, holy crap, if you go to one of these things and you tell a predominantly male sport that you're interested in getting involved, you're going to be overwhelmed. Am I right?
I would tend to agree. I would tend to agree with that.
So the next thing that they can kind of do to get started is go to a class, because there are classes that are taught out there that are specific to competitive shooting, how to get involved in competition, what the safety rules are specific to competition, the different styles of competition, how to engage different types of targets, how to engage around barricades, how to shoot movers, how to shoot pop-ups. I know, Russell, you teach some of those types of classes. And what would you recommend? First of all, tell everyone where they can go to find out information on you. And second of all, what do you teach, or what do you think people ought to look for in their areas? Because this is, people are going to hear this places other than Arizona. What should people look for if they're going to try to get a class that's based on competition?
Well, a lot of the classes, say the clubs offer on getting into competition, are more based around safety rules and compliance with match scoring and equipment division, that sort of thing. They'll spend a lot of time in the classroom. That I don't think the novice necessarily benefits from having rules beaten into their head to the nth degree and debating about scoring methods and all this sort of stuff. So I cover that in my classes. Like the first half hour we talk about general scoring principles, safety principles, all that kind of stuff, and then we get into practical exercises immediately, moving from position to position, keeping the muzzle down range, demonstrating that left-handed versus right-handed, working with barricades and props, doing shooting a Texas Star 10 times so you understand how it works, and you don't have to figure out how to do it on the clock, because there is a method to the madness with those things and timing and that sort of thing. And then towards the end of the class we bring it all together into a couple complete stages. So I offer a very basic intro to competition class through Route 66 Tactical with the laser shot system. So it's actually an air-conditioned environment with simulated laser pistols, and we run through competition-like stages in there. And that's incredibly beneficial for the novice, because you get to shoot like 1,000 virtual rounds in that class versus spending 25 to 50 cents a round, and learning trigger control and grip and sight alignment without spending money for every shot you're sending down range. And we can work with timing and moving targets there too. I'm also working with one of my sponsors, Suarez International, to develop a national level competition shooting education program that will allow us to run classes in different venues around the United States with some other instructors he has on board to get people into competition shooting and help them get the most out of it with their defensive equipment. So there's a lot of different options out there.
And what's your website, Russell?
Route66tactical.com. You can also eventually we'll have the Suarez stuff up on SuarezInternational.com. My personal blog is sinistralrifleman.com, where I post different match videos and reviews and breakdowns of equipment, that sort of thing. It's really interesting on my personal blog because I'll have people who say are shooting the match after I've already shot it, because a lot of times I'll shoot through with the ROs, or I'll shoot like an Ironman in Idaho. We'll shoot like one section of the match, and then next group of shooters comes through. So posting those videos, I'll have people at the match come up and say, "Hey, I watched your videos online, sitting in the hotel room, to see what was going on here." And it's kind of amusing to me because I consider myself an above average shooter, but I have like top 5% shooters going, "Oh yeah, I was scoping out your videos to see what was going on these stages."
Nice. Well, and I think for anyone who's interested in getting involved in competition shooting, I really would go check out Russell's information. He's someone that I personally, as an accomplished, defensive tactical style shooter, Russell is someone that I really respect from the competitive side of the house. He really, really knows his stuff. So, check him out at route66tactical.com. Go check out the Sinistral Rifleman blog. I read it. It's one of the few blogs that I check in from time to time, just because he's got lots of cool videos from different matches that he shoots. He's got some good articles about competitive shooting, how to get involved, what to do. So if you're interested in this topic, Russell's certainly a good source to go to. So just before our next break, real quick, talk about basically different styles of matches, but not just the style of match like IPSC, IDPA, USPSA, whatever, but like what are people going to experience when they go to an IDPA, IPSC, USPSA match versus when they go to a two-gun action match? Like, is there different environments there, do you think?
Yeah, there's different mindsets too, because when you go to a pistol match, people are much more focused and centered around like the nth degree of details with thing, whether it's my exact foot placement on the stage, or juicing the most out of my gun with equipment modifications and that sort of thing. I've noticed that the difference in 3-gun is people are much more casual about it. Aside from like the top 5% of shooters, you can be more casual about 3-gun. It's more of a fun atmosphere. There's a lot more going on with the stages, and you have to be good at a lot more different things to place well. And we'll generally see like the difference in score in 3-gun is a wider margin between places than say at a pistol match, where you're dealing with 100th of a percentile, sometimes between first and second place and on down the line.
So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about gear. We're going to answer the gear question from the Facebook page. We're going to talk about what kind of gear do we need to get involved in this. Can we use tactical type gear? Can we use duty or carry holsters? And we'll talk about that more when we come back from the break. You're listening to The Arms Room.
Would you like to share your military knowledge and experience with other service members and help them achieve their goals? Hey everybody, it's James from Vets On. You can do just that by becoming a military student enrollment advisor with the University of Phoenix at their Phoenix, Arizona campus. Military student enrollment advisors work with prospective students who have chosen to serve their country just like you. You'll be helping them enroll, choose a degree program, and guide them through their first class. To qualify for this great opportunity, you need a valid DD-214, military ID card from the National Guard or Reserves, a bachelor's degree, or 60 college credits. Military spouses are also eligible with current DoD ID card and a bachelor's degree. If you're looking for a great career while helping fellow military members, then we urge you to contact the University of Phoenix today. Apply now by going to jobs-apollo.com and enter the word military enrollment advisor in the search bar. And don't forget to tell them that Vets On sent you.
Breaker, 1-9. How about that bandage? You got them ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Hey everyone, it's Adam from Vets On. Are you or someone you know looking for employment? Then look no further than iVetX. iVetX is placing veterans with the right hiring companies. Join their mission in putting veterans in inspiring careers with ensured success. Access their national pipeline of military talent for companies. All veterans are pre-screened for 55 soft skill sets, 800 clarification types, education, experience, salary range, and so much more. iVetX can help you find the perfect job to veteran match. Your skills are based on what's needed for success in that job.
You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets On Media Network.
All right, we're back on the Arms Room. We have Russell Phagan from Route 66 Tactical. He's been talking with us about competitive shooting. Russell's a very accomplished competitive shooter, very big in the competitive world. I know he gets sponsored a lot by a lot of different companies, and to test their gear and use their gear. You've also written some articles for RECOIL Magazine.
Yeah, I've had a couple recent articles on the Vepr 12 shotgun, the Beretta 1301 shotgun, and the next upcoming article is the VZ58 versus the SIG 556R as 7.62x39 rifle alternatives. And to test both those guns, we actually used them at the two-gun action challenge match head-to-head.
Nice. So, there's plenty of ways to find out about Russell and obviously vet his experience. One is RECOIL Magazine. Two, his website, route66tactical.com, and also through his Sinistral Rifleman website. Or blog, excuse me. And that's kind of how I first even encountered Russell years ago, was mostly through the kind of the competitive shooting world and like-minded individuals that we hang around. So I know that he really knows what he's talking about. We talked about why you should competitively shoot. Mm-hmm. One thing that we missed, though, that you wrote about in your article that I posted up on the Arms Room Facebook page that I want to talk about just real briefly is when most people, we're kind of advantaged, all three of us sitting at this table, because we're involved in training in the firearms industry and all that, so we get to go to ranges where we can do whatever we want to a lot. We just kind of do whatever we want to all the time. For people here in Arizona, they're also advantaged because they can just kind of go out in the desert and do whatever they want, assuming that they have the appropriate type of targets and not just paper, but they also have steel or reactives or whatever. But there's a lot of people out there who either A, don't have all the equipment or time or desire to go out in the desert and set up their own courses, B, don't have really access to any ranges where they can do whatever they want to, or C, are limited to no public land, shooting ranges only, where they can stand at the shooting point, shoot their target, pack up their stuff, and go home. So another big advantage of competitive shooting matches is that we get to get outside of just standing at the line and shoot.
Oh, that's definitely true. If you want to be able to draw from a holster, the public ranges generally don't allow it. If you want to move and shoot, that's definitely not allowed. Doing quick reloads and sometimes even rapid fire is prohibited at public ranges, depending where you're at. So if you want to be able to do all those things, matches are the venue to do it. You'll get to draw from your holster, you'll get to move and shoot and reload and shoot from different awkward positions. Even at the most basic pistol matches, you may have to kneel down, you may have to hunch over and shoot through a barrel or around a barricade or something like that. Unless you're used to doing those things, you had to deal with the same thing in a real life situation. Figuring it out under that stress isn't the time to do it. So definitely some big advantages to shooting competitively in that regard. And look at it this way: I'm paying $10 to $20 to essentially rent this time on the range and use all their target systems, that if I drug all this stuff out to the desert myself,
that's a pain in the butt.
It'd be a pain, and I'd have to pay for fuel to drive further outside the city, et cetera, et cetera. So it's relatively cost effective to go to your local pistol match every week.
And there's some ranges I know where as members you get to shoot matches either at a discount or sometimes even for free.
Yeah, and for example, local clubs, if you're a active competitive shooter and you're a member of the club, you get access to the ranges for private use when they're not in use for matches too.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. That's totally awesome.
It's just a way of vetting out the people that are there, so you know they're not going to do something inappropriate or unsafe or break the equipment.
So let's talk about gear. Getting involved in competitive shooting. We talked about the different types of competition shooting. We talked about kind of what maybe you're looking for depending on your background or your idea or your desire. Do we want to play bullet golf? Do we want to perfect our skills? Do we want to work on tactics? What do we want to do? Let's talk about gear. So let's take me. Let's take John. That's a better example, all right? So John has never really shot any competition, okay? Mm-hmm. So right now I know John's carrying a good belt, he's got a good holster, he's got a good pistol, and he's got a backup magazine. Throw on some eye and ear protection. Is there anything else that John needs to start a pistol match?
Not necessarily. It's just a matter of determining which division he should compete in based upon the gun and equipment he has. And there's usually a division for everyone to compete in with whatever equipment they have. It's just a matter of figuring that out, and sometimes you're going to be less competitive, honestly.
Sure. If I'm drawing from concealment, obviously I'm not going to be as competitive as a guy who's drawn from some race holster.
Right, and for example, I like using the RMR equipped Glocks, but competing head to head with a full-on open gun that's comped and ported and all that kind of stuff, it's not necessarily as competitive. But I still have a venue to go and compete with that. Mm-hmm. It's just inherently less competitive because it's not comped. I don't like we use them. My mindset with equipment selection for matches is I want to use stuff that I'll actually use in a defensive shooting or for home defense or any of those kind of things. And honestly, like the difference between a 3-gun rifle and a home defense rifle is very minimal. Mm-hmm.
If we're using it from the non-bullet golf perspective.
Correct.
Because there's definitely some bullet golf rifles out there, man. Mm-hmm. There are some highly tuned competitive rifles.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. There's very little difference between, say, a designated marksman rifle and a 3-gun rifle. They're essentially functionally the same. It just might be a different muzzle brake or a different trigger in it. If you're getting into 3-gun to start, I'd recommend most people get into limited division because a basic M4 with a red dot, any double stack 9mm pistol, and some form of shotgun that holds 9 rounds can function in that. And then you can upgrade your equipment over time to be more effective in that division. And you'll know once you reach the point that your equipment's holding you back versus your skill. For most people, that's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Once you start getting into, say, the top 25% of your division, then you may want to start thinking about, okay, I need more new equipment to be competitive in this division. But as far as pistols go, there's a division for everything, regardless if it's USPSA or IDPA. IDPA just being more restrictive on the extra equipment you add to it, like lights and sights and types of holsters you can use.
So basically, I can start with the firearms that are in my safe right now, and I can go shoot some matches with them, because for the most part, the guns are going to outshoot me at least for a little while.
Definitely. The only there's weird exceptions. Like some people have stuff like a 5.7 pistol. Mm. I had one of those guys show up in a class, and it was cool that he came out to class, but the particular firearm was not really suitable for it because it didn't have enough muzzle energy to knock over steel targets. So you have to be aware of those sorts of things.
Now, there's another thing with ammunition that I know is important. With there's some Rio Salado is an example where they're gonna usually use a magnet to test your ammunition before you shoot rifle matches because they don't want any steel core or steel projectiles on the range because it's a greater amount of damage to their steel target. So you also kind of have to be aware sometimes of ammunition limitations.
Right, definitely no armor piercing ammo regardless of where you're at. Mm-hmm. No tungsten penetrators. Steel jackets, they're prohibiting those because they believe it's a fire hazard, which I think is kind of who knows? It's a little bit dubious. We shoot at the two-gun match down in Tucson. We'll shoot rifle steel at 50 yards with steel jacketed ammo all day long. It actually damages it less because it's lower velocity, generally speaking. But the important thing is, if you want to participate in a match, you got to be aware of their equipment rules and comply with their equipment rules. Sometimes they'll have a limitation on the shot size for your shotgun you can use. Sometimes matches that use older steel pistol targets will prohibit hollow point ammo for various reasons because it causes more fragmentation.
So let's talk about carrying all this stuff. In what way, in what kind of matches would I want to kit up, so to speak? Would I want to throw on my plate carrier or a chest rig or a battle belt or something like that, and maybe use the equipment? Let's say I'm still active duty military law enforcement, or maybe I'm just an armed citizen who wants to test my gear a little bit. What kind of matches would be appropriate to use that kind of gear, and what kind of matches would not be appropriate?
Well, I'd say multi-gun lends itself more to gearing up like that just because of all the different types of ammunition you have to carry. Generally speaking, for rifle and pistol, you can carry the ammunition required on your belt. It's not to say you shouldn't wear a plate carrier, but it's just not necessary.
And it can slow you down.
And it can slow you down. Shotgun ammo is the thing that people start gearing up more for, even with competition-specific equipment with different caddy systems, and the Load 2 and Load 4 systems are becoming popular. A lot of guys are having competition-specific vests made for those. So venues like the Two Gun Action Challenge Match, there's actually a division for armored. So if you're wearing plates, you can compete in that division, and they created a separate division for it because it is harder. 10 years ago, I co-founded a Trooper division that is still available at some 3-gun matches where you have to carry all your gear from the beginning of the match to the end of the match. You can ground your ruck when you get to the stage, but what you have with you is all you can use. So it's a logistical challenge, a little bit more physical, and if your guns break, you better have the stuff to fix them or you're going to have to drop out and compete in a different division. The advantage is that you can use whichever guns you want. You can switch out optics, you can switch out accessories, you can use multiple rifles or even a pistol caliber carbine for both pistol and rifle targets if you want to. But you better have all your gear in order to finish the match. Otherwise, you're going to have to drop out.
For those listening, that is my favorite division to compete in. I love having to carry everything. I think it's a blast. It certainly adds a lot more. You're having to move around vehicles and crawl through tubes, and in some of the action matches where you got to throw kettlebells or you have to drag dummies or pick up heavy ammo cans and run with them. Man, when you have all your gear
Sounds terrifying. Horrible.
When you have all your gear on, it adds an extra level of challenge, and I like that because now we're not just shooting; we're doing other things.
We're not golfing.
Yeah, we're not just golfing anymore. Now we're using physical activity. We're adding a higher level of stress. That's what I prefer. That doesn't mean that's obviously what you have to do. There's so many different divisions out there that you kind of have to tailor your gear, as Russell's saying, kind of figure out what the rules are for that particular division or whatever you want to get into. Anything else about gear that you want to mention, Russell?
The main thing I would say is don't buy anything until you go out and participate in a couple matches, because then you're just wasting your money without knowing what you need to buy. The main thing that you will need to shoot 3-gun is some sort of shotgun shell carrier system. Otherwise, you can just as easily throw your rifle and pistol mags in your pockets and do the match that way until you can afford to buy the gear required for it.
Which I have seen done. I have seen plenty of people reload out of their pockets. Absolutely. I've seen guys show up with a 20-inch A2 AR-15 and an
musket.
A2 setup. Yeah, freaking musket. With 20-round USGI mags loading out of a pocket, iron sights, and do decently because they were good shooters. And I've seen other people trick out their stuff and show up at the latest and greatest everything and still suck because their gear wasn't squared away. They had problems with it. They didn't know their zero. They didn't know the holdovers, or they just weren't competent with their equipment. So,
and on that note, I do need to mention that if you show up with an unzeroed rifle or a hastily zeroed rifle, you're going to be very frustrated.
Yeah, you are. You're going to be really sad if that happens, so don't do that. To kind of wrap things up, we've got just a minute, Adam? All right, we got about a minute. So to wrap things up, Russell, tell us in 30 seconds, what is the mindset that's needed to have a good time and also be competitive in shooting competitions?
Well, I think you need to accept that until you get enough experience, there are going to be people who beat you. You need to learn from the experience and try to better yourself through that experience. The only way to prepare for matches is to shoot matches, and the more matches you shoot, the better you'll get at them. You have to shoot matches to get better at it. I can't overstate that enough, because if you think you're going to show up and win right away, you're probably not going to. The other thing is you have to be aware of the rules of the match. Read the stage descriptions carefully so you don't make any mental errors. You got to be focused and have your head in the game and understand that each separate stage is a different event, and not let what happened on one stage affect you on another stage.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, Russell, for coming in and giving us your insight. We really appreciate it. And again, we respect your level of experience and what you've accomplished. So I appreciate you coming on the show and talking to everyone about it. Again, you can find Russell at Route66Tactical.com, the Sinistral Rifleman blog, and also, writing here and there for RECOIL Magazine. And Russell is awesome. If you have the chance to train with him, I really recommend it. We kind of jokingly refer to him as the Russell Bot because he is a robot when it comes to shooting competition. I have mirrored a lot of the competitive style stuff that I do after how I've watched Russell shoot, because of absolutely how he dissects stages and figures it out. So if you're going to learn from someone and you're here in Arizona, Russell really is the guy to go check out. Next week's show, the schedule's not posted yet, but next week's show, we're going to be talking about how to select a training organization or instructors, how to vet them, what you're looking for, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be having a good time with that show.
And maybe I'll have a story about my first competition by next week.
I hope you will.
We'll see.
There's tons of stuff for you to go shoot this week. Dr. Russell will tell you all
about
it. All right. So until then, as always, stay aware, stay safe, train hard. You've been listening to The Arms Room. The bomb's busting in air.